Chi was born into wealth, surrounded by uplands in her father's sprawling mansion. Her mother, a beautiful and kind-hearted woman, had passed away the day she came into the world. This absence had cast a long shadow over her life, especially on Mr. Kene, her father, who adored his daughter but struggled to find a way to truly connect with her. To care for Chi, Mr. Kane hired nannies, all of whom struggled with the girl's difficult temperament. Chi, although intelligent and precious, was not like other children of her age. At 7 years old, she had everything a child could want: lavish toys, expensive clothes, and a grand home. Yet, she was also spoiled, rude, and terribly lonely. Raised without a mother, her father, Mr. Ken, had tried everything to make up for the absence. Nannies came and went, each one hired with the hope of filling the void her mother had left. But none could handle Chi-Chi's demanding personality. Every nanny that Mr. Ken hired had left within weeks, some even days. They would arrive with bright smiles, eager to win over the small, sharp-eyed girl. But Chi quickly tore them down, testing their patience with impossible demands, cruel words, and outbursts of temper. She has learned early on that if she made life difficult enough, they would leave. And that's exactly what she wanted. "I don't like her. Get me a new nanny," Chi would say, often just days after meeting someone new. Mr. Ken, exhausted but wanting to please his daughter, would reluctantly oblige. He knew Chi was acting out of a deep sense of loss and confusion, but he felt powerless to change it. One day, after the latest nanny had fled the mansion in tears, Mr. Ken knew he had to try something different. He couldn't keep replacing nannies forever. He had heard of a woman named Ugochi, a calm and patient nanny who had a reputation for dealing with even the most difficult children. With little else to lose, he decided to hire her. When Ugochi arrived, Chi didn't pay much attention. The young woman in her late 20s was tall, with smooth dark skin and a serene expression. She wasn't extravagant in her appearance, wearing a modest dress, her hair tied neatly back. Chi glanced at her dismissively, already planning how she would drive her away. Chi wasted no time in testing Ugochi's limits. On her first day, she demanded an elaborate breakfast, asking for a complicated combination of pancakes, fresh squeezed orange juice, and a very specific kind of fruit cut into perfect squares. And if it's not perfect," Chi said with a smirk, "I will have to ask my daddy to get me a new nanny." But Ugochi didn't flinch. Instead, she calmly prepared breakfast. When Chi deliberately spilled her juice, Ugochi quietly cleaned it up. When Chi refused to eat her food, Ugochi took the plate away without a word. Chi tried harder, throwing tantrums, making a mess of her toys, but Ugochi never lost her composure. Days turned into weeks, and Chi frustration grew. No matter what she did, Ugochi never yelled, never raised her voice, and never seemed to be bothered. She was like a steady, unshakable tree, rooted firmly in her patience. One evening, after another day of pushing Ugochi to her limits, Chichi lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. She thought back to all the nannies who had come before. They had always snapped, always given up. But Ugochi, she didn't give up. She was still here. The next morning, Chichi woke up early and quietly slipped into the kitchen where Ugochi was preparing breakfast. She stood in the doorway, watching the nanny's graceful movements as she cracked eggs and stirred butter for pancakes. For the first time, Chichi didn't demand anything outrageous. She didn't shout or throw anything. Instead, she stood silently watching Ugochi. As the days went by, Chi-Chi's tantrums became less frequent. She no longer tried to push Ugochi away. Instead, she began to open up, little by little. One afternoon, she asked Ugochi to read her a story, something she hadn't done with any of her previous nannies. As Ugochi's gentle voice filled the room, Chi-Chi found herself leaning closer, resting her head on Ugochi's shoulder. For the first time in a long time, Chi-Chi felt safe. "Can you read another one?" Chi-Chi whispered, her eyes heavy with sleep as she nestled closer. Ugochi smiled and nodded, her voice soft and melodic as she began a new story. Chichi's small hand wrapped around Ugochi's arm, and soon she drifted off into a peaceful sleep. It was during one of these quiet moments that Chichi made up her mind. Ugochi wasn't just a nanny. She was more than that. One evening, Chichi sat at the dining table with her father and Ugochi, the usual quiet meal unfolding. But Chichi had something important to say. "Daddy," Chichi began, her voice serious. Mr. Ken and Ugochi looked at her curiously. "I want Ugochi to be my mommy." Mr. Ken blinked, taken aback. "What do you mean, Chichi?" Chichi's voice was unwavering. "I heard Grandma talking to you. She said you should get married again. I don't want you to marry anyone else. I want you to marry Ugochi." As she was talking, the room felt silent. Mr. Ken looked at Ugochi, who seemed equally shocked, and then back at his daughter. "Sweetheart, that's a big thing to ask." "She takes care of me, and I love her," Chichi said, her eyes filled with determination. "She's already like my mom. I want her to stay forever." Mr. Kane was deeply moved by his daughter's words. He could see how much Chichi had changed since Ugochi had come into their lives, and how much she meant to her. But he also knew that this wasn't a decision to be made lightly. Ugochi has become a central part of their lives, but marriage was a different matter. He needed to be sure Ugochi felt the same way and that she was truly ready for such a responsibility. That night, after Chichi had gone to bed, Mr. Ken and Ugochi sat down to talk. "Ugochi," Mr. Ken began cautiously, "Chichi's request earlier. It came as a surprise to me, but she's grown very attached to you. In a way, she's right. You have been more to her than just a nanny. However, this is a big decision. I need to know more about you and how you feel." Ugochi looked down. Her hands nervously clasped together. "Sir, I love Chichi as if she were my own. These past months, I have seen her change, and I feel honored to have been part of that. But marriage, That's something I never considered. I would want to be sure I could give both you and Chi everything you need. Mr. Ken nodded. I understand. I have been thinking about it and I believe this could work, but there is something I need to address. I made some inquiries about your background and I learned that you stopped your education midway. I want you to complete your schooling to have the opportunities you deserve before we make any decision about the future. Ugochi was silent for a moment, clearly overwhelmed by his words. You will do that for me, sir? Of course, Mr. Ken replied. You have given so much to Chichi. This is something I can do for you in return. If you are open to it, I would like to support you in furthering your education. Once you have finished, we can think about the next step. In the days that followed, Mr. Ken made arrangements for Ugochi to return to school. Ugochi was hesitant at first, worried about leaving Chichi, but Mr. Ken assured her that he would find a way to manage in the meantime. Go and finish your studies, he said. When you return, we will see where life takes us. Chichi, although initially upset about Ugochi's absence, soon understood. If you have to go to school to be my mommy, then go, she said, hugging Ugochi tightly before she left. I will wait. After Ugochi has left, the months passed slowly for Chichi, but she remained hopeful. Ugochi called often, reassuring her that she was doing well. Chichi even sent Ugochi drawings and little letters, keeping their bond strong despite the distance. And in time, Ugochi finished her education, returning not just as Chichi's nanny, but as an accomplished woman. Not long after her return, Mr. Ken made his decision. He had watched Ugochi grow from a patient and nurturing nanny into a strong, educated woman. He admired her more than ever, and it was clear that she held a special place in both his and Chichi's hearts. One evening, he gathered Chichi and Ugochi together in the living room. The setting sun cast a golden light through the windows as they all sat together, enjoying a peaceful moment. Chichi, Mr. Ken began, you asked me a while ago if I will marry Ugochi and make her your mother. Well, I have thought long and hard about it. Ugochi, you have become an important part of our lives. I believe we can be a family. If you are willing, I would like to marry you. Ugochi's eyes filled with tears as she looked at both Mr. Ken and Chichi. I would love that, she said, her voice trembling with emotion. Chichi's face lighted up and she threw her arms around both of them. We are going to be a family, she shouted joyfully. I have a mommy now. From that moment on, everything changed for Chichi. She had not only a father who adored her, but a mother who loved her unconditionally. The wedding was small and intimate, attended by close family and friends. Chichi stood proudly beside Ugochi as her flower girl, her eyes filled with happiness as her two favorite people in the world became husband and wife. As the years went by, Ugochi and Mr. Ken had more children, giving Chichi the siblings she had longed for. But through it all, her special bond with Ugochi never wavered. Ugochi had not only been the mother Chichi needed, but the friend and guide who helped shape her into a kinder, more compassionate young woman. And in the end, Chi-Chi realized that love wasn't something you demanded or took from others. It was something that was freely given, something that grew quietly and steadily, like a tree rooted in the deepest soil. And with Ugochi by her side, Chi-Chi knew she would never feel alone again. Thank you. This is where our story ends. The moral lesson to take from this story: patience and compassion, love and care can heal even the most difficult hearts, as shown by Ugochi's patience with Chi-Chi. Change is possible. Chi-Chi's transformation from a spoiled root child to a loving daughter shows that with the right guidance, anyone can change. Family is more than blood. A true family is not just about biological connections, but about the love, support, and care shared between people. Perseverance in relationships. Ugochi's steady commitment to Chi-Chi reflects that true relationships take time, effort, and perseverance to flourish. The power of education. Ugochi's return to school emphasizes the importance of education in personal growth and building a better future. Love is built on respect. Mr. Ken's decision to marry Ugochi after supporting her education shows the value of respecting and uplifting those we care about. This concludes our story. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share, and also touch the bell button so that you will be notified each time we put out new video. Subscribe for more stories with powerful life lessons. Please and please subscribe to help us grow our channel. God bless you all as you do so. Bye bye. Love you. Mwah.